loading up the car right now because it is currently 11 p.m. and in 2 hours I'm going out with some friends to try and film a really cool species of turtle. And whose fault is that, you might be asking? It is the moon's fault because of tides. So I'm gonna go try and sleep for 2 hours and then go look for turtles. You're gonna want to keep watching this video because I brought my drone. So this time we spared no expense. Production values are through the roof. So watch the whole video. 2 hours later. Oh my gosh, it's 1 a.m. Here we go.
He's a huge troublemaker, but also like a genius when it comes to like party ideas.
My friend Bill and I were meeting up with my other friend Nick and his dad at a boat ramp deep in the nature coast of Florida. Nick knew an island where we had the chance to see some Diamondback Terrapins, a species of turtle I had never seen before in the wild. Nick was a little late getting to the ramp, so Bill and I explored around in the dark for a little bit. Nick and his dad eventually made it, so we started prepping our gear. If it isn't already clear, Bill, Nick, and I are all underwater photographers, so we had quite a bit of equipment to load up between wetsuits, cameras, fins, masks, and weight belts. Before too long, though, we were off, with Nick spotlighting ahead of us as we weaved our way through the canals and out into the flats. It wasn't long before we saw a group of dolphins. These were actually playing with a gar and kept flipping the poor fish up into the air. They didn't kill it or eat it, just bullied it. The sun started to peek over the horizon, and another pod of dolphins showed up just right alongside the boat. I was a little sad my nice camera was imprisoned in my housing, but still managed to get a shot on my iPhone. By the time the sun broke the horizon, we saw our first group of mangrove islands. These will be the best spots to look for the terrapins. As we got closer, we could see hundreds of great frigate birds circling above the mangroves. So many, holy cow. Birds moved on and it was still pretty early, so we decided to fly the drones to capture the rest of the sunrise. It's always a little nerve-wracking flying the drone from a moving vessel, but I'm getting better at it, and what better place to practice than here? The drone revealed a breathtaking array of islands scattered throughout the grass flats. Undeveloped coastline is a rare thing in Florida, and to see a section free from condos, hotels, and skyscrapers was a very welcome sight. And of course, it seemed like there was plenty of great spots to look for terrapins. So after one last loop, it was time to land the drones and get ready to dive. No, I see a cormorant. When I first got in the water, I was immediately blown away by the visibility, but even more so, I was amazed by the endless underwater seagrass beds that seemed to stretch for miles. This is my first time in the Florida Flats, and I could barely believe how beautiful they were. The grasses rippled with the current, almost like a meadow on the side of a mountain on a windy day. Amidst the grasses, I noticed a few pieces of coral. Although I'm not sure what type of coral, it's always good to see any kind in Florida. Although, with coral bleaching from climate change, I'm worried they won't be here forever. addition to the seagrass, there was another marine plant that looked like it was straight out of a Dr. Seuss book. Now, I'm not actually sure what kind of species this was, but these tiny underwater trees were everywhere, and multiple species of fish were darting about as if we had stumbled across a bustling aquatic city. It made me excited to see that a place so wild still existed in coastal Florida habitat. We spent a good bit of time exploring the shallow open water, but didn't come across any turtles, so we decided to try our luck along the edge of the mangrove islands. Branches of the mangroves hung down far out from the base of the trees, making some exceptional edge habitat and seemed like a pretty great place to look for the terrapins. The way the light filtered through the branches and the floating plant debris was breathtaking to say the least. I'm a sucker for a good light beam, and they were definitely not in short supply this morning. We wrapped around a good portion of one of the islands, but then found a small inlet and decided to swim up it to keep up the search for the terrapins. After we were able to reach a more interior part of the island, it wasn't long until we got lucky and stumbled across a single Diamondback Terrapin. I'd say our hard work had paid off, but honestly, Nick was the one who originally found this spot and had a good hunch there might be one or two hanging about. I sat for almost an hour and watched as this individual cautiously emerged from the mangrove prop roots, and I could hardly believe I was getting to see such a beautiful turtle for the first time in the wild. Diamondback terrapins are the only species of turtle in the U.S. that inhabit brackish environments. Brackish just means a mixture of salt and fresh water. Varying species of these turtles can be found throughout the Gulf Coast, but they also range up the Atlantic side as far as Massachusetts. Diamondback terrapins are not true sea turtles, but similar to them, they have a gland in their eye that helps them secrete excess amounts of salt, allowing them to survive in marine or brackish habitat. We were lucky to come across an individual out in the clear waters of the mangrove islands and flats, as terrapins also venture into salt marsh habitat, where they are a keystone species as they prey upon a specific snail that has the potential to overgraze on marsh grasses. The terrapins have the ability to detect the scent of prey underwater and follow it to the source, but this sometimes gets them into trouble as they frequently get stuck in crab traps and drown. To help prevent this, many state agencies offer free devices that are shaped to help keep terrapins out of crab traps while still making it easy for crabs to get in. Another threat facing these turtles is the illegal pet trade. Diamondback terrapins have an incredibly unique coloration, but unfortunately, their amazing appearance makes them a target for poachers. It's important to remember that you should never take an animal from the wild as a pet, and always be sure when purchasing a pet that you are getting it from a reputable buyer. And of course, undeveloped coastlines like this are increasingly rare in Florida, and it's important that we protect large areas of both terrestrial and aquatic coastal habitat in order to make sure that species like the terrapins can exist forever. After all of our efforts, we only managed to find the one turtle, but it was still 100% worth getting 2 hours of sleep to see this incredible animal. After following him around the mangroves for a little bit, he finally disappeared back into the substrate, and we headed back to the boat. Once we were back on the boat, I decided to fly my drone another time as we began the trek back to shore, and took one last flight over a little turtle island in the wide open flats. By this point, the sun was full blown, and we were incredibly hot and tired. We'd expected our wildlife viewing to be mostly done, but all of a sudden we saw a fin moving on the surface of the water.
It's too late when I see one of
That's a tiger!
No way!
That's 100% a tiger.
100%! Holy crap!
We're pretty excited, if you can't tell. I had never seen a tiger shark before and was not at all expecting to see it so far up in the flats.
Just to get us into water. And then sea tiger, we also a lot of bull sharks.
Not long after the tiger shark, we came across another group of dolphins that were lazily mud ring feeding. To do this, a dolphin will stir up sediment in a circle around a school of fish and then swim into the ring and use its tail to flip fish out of the water and into the waiting open mouth of its partner. Now, these dolphins made a few rings, but we didn't really see them try very hard to eat the fish. Dolphins are pretty intelligent animals, and sometimes it seems like they just play around, kind of like they were doing earlier by bullying that gar. By then, we were almost back to the ramp, and it was time to end a very long but very successful morning exploring Florida's nature coast. Alrighty, it was an awesome day in the water. It's nice to get in some salt water for a change. It's been mostly fresh water these days. Sorry I didn't talk much, but I was just busy enjoying being out there. So, it's pretty cool to get to see a terrapin and a tiger shark, which I've never seen either of those species before. So, a good day. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.